Okay, just trying to make sure that everyone's able to get in before we get started. Looks like the number has stopped growing. So good evening and welcome to the proceedings of the Grand Rapids Public School Board. Today is Monday, September 8th. And let's get started with a roll call. Ms. Lewis.
Dr. Baker's excused. Ms. Davis? Ms. Davis?
Here.
Dr. Flores?
Present.
Ms. Lewis is here. Reverend Matias?
Present.
Mr. Ross?
Present.
Ms. Shaki?
Here.
Mrs. Williams?
Present.
President Grant?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So move.
Support.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Okay. First, we have celebrations, and I'm going to turn things over to Dr. Roby.
President Grant, members of the board, I'd like to ask Craig to bring forward John Helmholtz. He will be sharing some information about the resolution for Peace Education Week and the International Peace. We will be celebrating Peace Education Week with our community partners, Kate Valere and Mike France. So Craig, if you could bring Mr. Helmholtz forward, I'd appreciate it.
Good evening. I'm sideways, it says. Good evening, Madam Superintendent, Madam Chair, and members of the board. It's an honor to be here tonight. I can't tell, Craig, if you're able to bring in Katie Valere. I know Mike Franz is sick tonight, so I don't think he's going to be able to join us. And if Katie is not able to jump in, I can certainly cover it. Craig, do you see Katie in there at all?
I'm here.
Oh,
Oh, you are?
I'm
Okay,
here.
there she is. All right. Well, I'd like to tee this off. We've had a long-standing tradition in one of the exclusive school districts in the region of celebrating the Peace Week. Mike and Katie are part of the Institute for Global Education. They have come to the board annually for as long as I've been with the district and even longer. I think Katie can speak to that. I think it dates back to about 1984. And the resolution you'll be voting on tonight officially declares the week of September 21st through the 25th a week of peace education for the purposes of encouraging school activities focused on people living together in peace and harmony in an increasing smaller global world. It also resolves that on Monday, September 21st, 2020, be declared a day of peace education for the purpose of celebrating the special United Nations theme, people in community. And all of this came about from the United Nations and our local Institute for Global Education. Mike and Katie and their team have led this effort. And we as a district have specifically worked with Dr. Columbula and Jonathan Harper and their team to ensure that we have lesson plans and activities that are built in to celebrate this International Peace Education Week. And so Katie, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Can you see me and hear me?
We can hear you.
You can?
We can hear you. Yep, we just can't see you, but you're okay if you want to just go ahead.
I'll just go ahead and Mike is ill. I'm sorry. So I'm kind of taking over what he's saying, just a couple of sentences here. The Institute for Global Education celebrates its 40th anniversary in Grand Rapids this year. And we really want to thank the school board, the superintendents through the years for working with us and all the good things that you've done in the past. Thank you. And September 21st is the United Nations International Day of Peace, celebrated throughout the world. And we know there are time-tested ways to make human interaction more peaceful, and we can teach them. And thank you very much.
Thanks, Katie. Appreciate all your advocacy. And that's all.
Thank you. Thank you, both John and Katie for that. And yes, we can always be reminded of our human kindness and to spread peace throughout our community. Next, I'd like to, President Grant and members of the board, I'd like to ask Craig to bring forward Dr. Maida Bahamade Gunnell. Dr. Gunnell will be sharing information related to Hispanic Heritage Month and related activities that are taking place. So Craig, if you can bring Dr. Gunnell forward, I'd appreciate that as well.
Dr. Roby, it appears we're having some trouble getting Dr. Gunnell in.
Okay.
I'm going to, one moment, please. We'll see if we can get her via audio.
And while you're working on that, I think Miss Malika Brown was actually going to be presenting. So if you can bring her forward.
Good evening.
Hi. How are you?
I'm
All
good.
right,
How are you
good.
all? Oh, I see Dr. Gunnell's here.
Guys, I got disconnected. I apologize.
Go ahead, Dr. Gunnell, you're on.
Good evening, Dr. Roby, President Grant, and board members. What a pleasure it is again this evening to talk about and help us celebrate our Hispanic Heritage Month, which is a yearly event. And I'd like to bring Mrs. Malika Brown forth. She is the Director of Equity and Inclusion, and she will be giving us much more information about our celebration tonight. Thank you.
Good evening, Dr. Roby, President Grant, and members of the board. It's a pleasure to be here with you again on this evening to talk about our celebrations. And I have to start with saying that we believe that knowledge, investigation, and open-minded inquiry is the true beginning of understanding. And so here in our district, we've made a commitment to provide a path and a door to that understanding of the beautiful diversity that we have here in Grand Rapids Public Schools. With that said, we will be celebrating Hispanic Heritage, a celebration of Latin culture. And although we celebrate and learn about cultures through our culture all year long, we observe National Hispanic Heritage Month from September 15th through October 15th. We'll be celebrating the histories, cultures, and contributions of citizens whose ancestors came from Spain, Mexico, the Caribbean, and Central and South America. And through the work of Dr. Gunnell and Ms. Kay Smith and the English language team, we will be hosting the award-winning author Diana Lopez to provide virtual interactive presentations to our GRPS students. Specifically, she will be presenting to 4th and 8th graders asynchronously on September 30th for the 4th grade students and October 1st for the 8th grade students. So we are in process of choosing 3 schools from across the district, so not necessarily concentrated in one area. And her presentations will focus on Mexican Latino culture, but most importantly, being proud of your culture, proud of who you are, and proud of where you come from. These webinars will be recorded and accessible to all teachers and anyone who wants to access them after those dates. Students will be getting a couple books once we come back from our virtual learning, and author Lopez will be talking about her books, and I kind of have them here. The first one is called Confetti Girl, and then the other book that they will be given is called Lucky Luna. It's important to mention that Ms. Lopez is a former middle school educator and just came to to grips with the fact that writing about her culture, her Mexican culture, is a perfect way to get to a lot of the understanding and issues that are happening for Hispanic and Latino people here in America. And so that is the end of that. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Oh, one last part, I'm sorry. Teachers will be getting, as we do with all cultural celebrations, a list of lesson plans and resources that they can use to weave into the curriculum that they are teaching for this month and throughout the year. And so the public will also, teachers and principals and a mass communication will go out with a little blurb about Hispanic Heritage Month and also a few resources for us to dive into and learn more about Hispanic heritage.
I'd like to just add a comment. It's not, I don't want to sound corrective either, but I think it's also important to underscore the fact that we're also celebrating the Hispanic, Indian, Indigenous Americans that were here, representative of 1/3 of this United States, what it is geographically today, and that we didn't come from Mexico, we didn't come from Spain, or we didn't come from Latin America. We were already here. And 1/3 of this geographic United States has people who were brought into the United States technically through expansion, through manifest destiny, and through acquisitions of lands that belong to Mexico or to New Spain.
Thank you for that clarification, Dr. Flores.
Thank you, sir, or ma'am.
Do we have any more questions about this presentation? Thank you all very much for your time. All right, if not, thank you. We will move on to our secretary's report. Ms. Lewis.
Yes. Okay. Please check the district website and go to notice of regular and special board meetings to obtain Zoom virtual meeting access information, or if there will be any changes to doing in-person meetings. Meetings are also noticed and posted outside the district office administration building following the Open Meeting Act requirement. The policy committee meeting will take place next week, Wednesday, September the 16th at 5 o'clock. And the finance committee will be meeting on Monday, September 28th at 5:30.
Thank you. Next, we will have committee chair updates. I am stepping in for Dr. Baker today. He is excused, so I will be giving the Academic Achievement Committee update. Academic Achievement Committee met on September 2nd last week, and we received an update on the return to virtual learning from Dr. Gorman. This update included information on the learning platforms that students are using, food distribution, as well as the head count that is also continuing for students as we take online attendance. I believe we'll also receive some of that information today, so I won't dive into that too deeply. We also talked about how the committee can help as the district sees different unintentional consequences that are happening from virtual learning and from distance learning. How can not only the committee, but the board and administration start having conversations about those things, things that we could not have predicted, but how can we help students and families work through those things? So that was the conversation about some ongoing work. We also talked about the upcoming listening sessions, and Dr. Roby, I believe, will receive information on those today as well. All right, so that is my update. Next, we have Mrs. Williams with the Finance Committee.
All righty, from the Finance Committee, we have several action items that are on our agenda tonight as well. So I'll briefly highlight them, some of the things we talked about. With the purchasing agenda, we talked about the issues under support materials, which was highlighting the synergy purchase of program for our district as well. Under instructional supplies, we talked about the broadband wireless data to support families during the distant learning as well. And again, that is on our an action item for tonight. We spoke about a donation from Great Sports, which will be providing athletic opportunities to our elementary and middle school students. And then under the budget updates, we understand that there will be a budget audit that will be completed in the next upcoming weeks. We're thinking about 2 weeks. That information should be back. And we know that there is still a per pupil reduction, but it is not thought to be as much as we had allowed it in Amendment 2. So still some reduction. We just don't think it's going to be as much as the $650 per student. We also learned that the district is applying for CARES Act monies and that they are receiving those dollars. However, they do come with their own specific guidelines and reporting issues that the staff is going to work out and keep us updated on as we go through that process. And then lastly, bond updates, that the construction at Ottawa Hills High School is wrapping up, as well as Southwest Community Campus. We also learned that the gym at Union was slightly delayed due to equipment and design issues, but it is on schedule to be completed by the end of November. And that secured entries at Southwest Community Campus, Kent Hills, were completed at the end of August, and that Sibley and Alger should wrap up at the end of September. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Next, we have the Legislative Committee update. Reverend Matias.
Hey, good evening, everyone. We met on August 17th, and I believe that our meetings are going to be the third Monday, I believe from 12 to 1. And John is welcome to jump in as well, but we did an overview of some of the stimulus, like the HEROES Act for both Democrat and Republicans. We had I think a robust conversation about some of the funding that is needed given this unique time. I think the legislative team that's in Lansing is doing an excellent job of trying to get us in the faces or in the virtual faces of our legislators. And so we are planning some future, probably it's going to be, if we're not in person, it'll be virtual meetings with some of our legislators. So, and I don't know, Jen, if you want to comment on some of the other things that we talked about. Those are two of the major ones that
Yeah, I think that really covered it. You say John, not Jen. I'm on the committee too, sorry.
Yeah.
I misunderstood you. You did a good job.
So.
Okay, thank you. Then next we will move to Superintendent's Report.
Today marks day 9 of the 2021 school year. Our enrollment has been consistent to where we've been in the past. We're still working on daily attendance, encouraging people to make sure that they stay engaged and touch base with their classroom teachers. Teachers have been working on routines and this through virtual events, setting up routines and setting up classroom community and expectations around how they'll do their work and how they'll communicate with their teachers. We continue to provide technology, meals, and material support for our students. We are settling into the normal routines of school. It is a true culture of learning. Teachers and students are building their communities together, differentiation of instruction, and navigating the various platforms. Our leadership team has closely with principals and teachers to communicate alternatives to instruction in case of connectivity issues. We were anticipating, as all districts across the nation would be online today, across the nation, that we might have some connectivity issues. And I am pleased to report that we did not have any in Grand Rapids. With respect to assessment, our K-8 teachers will be administering aligned assessments for English language arts and math upon returning to in-person, and they'll be expected to administer the NWA or MAP assessment to determine student growth. Support resources will continue. Always, our schools are the first point of contact. There's information that's been sent to parents, and you can see links for social emotional support, parent engagement, translation, special education services, ELL services. So it's all there either on individual websites or the district main website. Technology distribution of devices can still be accessed. So if you have not received a device, you can do so. You can pick up a device at the Campus Elementary Childhood Center. It's 1340 Thomas Avenue, and that's Friday, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. or by appointment if those hours do not work for you. Reminder that we are kicking off distance learning listening sessions, and what that means, all school sites in Grand Rapids will be hosting a listening session for their students and their parents. This allows them to share what's working, address concerns, and listen to suggestions as we are moving into week 3 of distance learning. In addition to that, we are also hosting a district-wide and a community-wide listening session the week of next week, September, I'm rushing the year, excuse me, September 15th for our staff and September 17th for the broader community. And it is a listening session. We want to hear what's working, what's not working, so that we can assess what themes we are seeing across district schools. And we look forward to reporting that information in the future. With respect to fall sports, we are working through our communication plan on how to re-engage fall sports with caution. We are following the guidelines that have been set forth by the governor's office and the Michigan High School Athletic Association. As many of you are aware, last week, Thursday, September 3rd, Governor Whitmer signed an executive order allowing for organized sports and practices and competitions to resume in regions where they had been restricted, subject to strict protections, which are meant to limit the virus. When the governor made this announcement last week, high school associations plan to resume schedules that had already been communicated. Parents in our district, some of them were seeing what had been previously communicated on the website. What was not clear to people and what was not clear to us, the actual official start date for many of our sports, and which Michigan or conference schools would be actually resuming fall sports. So we needed to have some confirmation between our district schools. What changes in the division or regions would be made for tournaments, and what changes to any sort of schedules and rules. As part of the press announcement from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, it recommended against contact sports at this time. And those sports were defined as sports involving more than an occasional or fleeting contact, which includes both football and soccer. Also cited 30 reported COVID outbreaks for athletic teams and facilities. As a district, we have been clear and consistent that our decision making during the pandemic will be based on the health and well-being of our students, families, and staff in accordance and in guidance with the health officials. We are continuing that process. We will certainly continue to practice the safety and health protocols. We are ensuring that all of our competitions in our facilities will meet or exceed the health and safety guidelines. We are working through, to the degree possible, making sure that visiting teams are also following the same protocols prior to arriving at our facility. We are limiting spectator parents or parent guardians only at this time for all home events. That includes visiting teams. What you will see this week and probably this evening, is a 4-question survey for our parents regarding their comfort level and feelings about resuming fall sports. We plan to share the guidelines and expectations and new schedules with all of our students and there's additional information that's out there, of course, but we wanted to make sure that people understood that when the announcement was made, there was a reason why we wanted to gather input, which we have tried to consistently do, related to this experience of keeping our students and our staff and our families safe. With that, I will turn it over back to Mrs. Grant and the board for questions.
Thank you. I do want to lead up with a question, just to a clarification question. So some of the outline, what I gathered is that things are moving forward. So I just wanted to have some clarity on that.
You just froze on me for just a second. Could you repeat that? I heard some of and that was it.
Okay. So my question is just about, you shared a lot of the guidelines, but clarity on whether sports are moving forward right now, yes or no. That was a little unclear for me if I was listening in. So
Sure. And so there are some sports that had already planned, which were golf, tennis, and cross country. They have had games and events already, and those have been considered low risk. Our other sports, such as soccer,
Volleyball.
And volleyball, are considered moderate risk, but the health department has qualified soccer in particular as high risk. So we're trying to get clarification on if it's moderate risk or high risk, because that has some impact. So to answer your question, we do have some sports that in session.
Did Dr. Roby?
Is she frozen for everyone or me? Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know if it was just me. Okay. And if you all have, we're gonna give her a few moments. If you all have follow-up questions. Also, Craig, I don't know if there's potentially someone that we can bring in. I don't know if Kurt is available to answer some questions for us, Mr. Johnson, while we are getting Dr. Roby together. Do you all have any other questions, first of all, before we bring Mr. Johnson in?
I think just to hear the clarification, it sounds to me like any sport that's moderate or less is moving forward. If I'm hearing it right, I just want to make sure I'm hearing that right.
Let's clarify.
I am here. Can you see me? Hear me?
We can't see you. We can hear you.
There we go.
Okay, we can see you.
Good evening, Madam President, President Grant, and Dr. Roby, Superintendent, and all of our distinguished board members. It gives me a great pleasure to join you on this evening. And as you are all aware and probably heard, a lot of the information is constantly changing, it's fluid. It's been quite a crazy start to the sports world. And so as you heard from Dr. Roby, that we will be following not only the governor's and the Michigan High School.
I'm so sorry. My computer went dead. So I lost a lot of the conversation. I'm sorry.
No, you are okay. We actually have Mr. Johnson doing a quick wrap up fill in for us.
And so we will also, like I said, in conjunction with the governor's office and the Michigan High School Athletic Association, also our health professionals and their guidance regarding resuming sports. And so you were talking about the sports that were categorized as low risk and moderate risk and high risk. And there has been not always total agreement between the executive order up against the roadmap to reopening schools. And so that took a little bit of negotiating between the state association and the governor's office to arrive at the current decision for resuming fall sports, but under, as you heard from the superintendent, under some strict protocols and restrictions to mitigate and reduce the transmission of the COVID-19 virus there. And so again, Soccer is one of those moderate risk sports that we're seeking more guidance and decision on. We've had, as you heard before, we've had low risk activities such as golf, tennis, and cross country that have been convening practices as well as competitions. It was always in question the high risk, which is football, as to whether or not those sports would continue in a safe and healthy manner there. And so even with the governor's executive order permitting those, there's still some restrictions that are tied to those. And so we are examining those to make sure that we are making the best possible decision in consideration of our families and students there. And so it has been a whirlwind of information that continues to change probably every 24 to 48 hours. And so the minute you gather information and attempt to make a decision on it, then it changes again. And so you have to shift again. So we are in consultation amongst ourselves as a cabinet there, as well as staying in touch with the health professionals to see what the next steps will be for those sports that are considered high risk.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Is volleyball one of those middle ones, the medium?
Volleyball is considered moderate risk.
Oh, moderate, okay, all right. So that's going to go forward, right, volleyball?
That is the plan and that is intent. So they were in a holding pattern because there was no, the executive order did not allow for any activities to take place in a gymnasium.
That's right.
Or a swimming pool. But like I said, the roadmap to opening schools did allow for those things. So those things did not agree. And so we just recently received information or direction from the governor that it would be okay to move forward with volleyball, but again, with some strict restrictions on mitigating the spread of COVID-19. So, but it's in the moderate risk category.
And Mr. Johnson, is it, are you putting those guidelines in our websites and also in particular school websites, high schools, middle schools, in terms of what that looks like or what?
Yes, those will be appearing. Now that we have a decision, which just came through a couple of days ago. So now that we have a decision, those things will be published and will be available for the general public as well as parents, and through our normal mediums that we communicate with parents and communities with.
And will there be spectators allowed?
At this time, we're just limiting that to parents. Up to 2 parents per athlete.
Okay.
At this time, so managing spectators, as you have all attended our events, we have some pretty robust crowds in the thousands. Mm-hmm. So at this time, it would not safe to try to host those type of activities under these current conditions. So up to 2 parents is what we are considering now for spectators.
This is Kim Williams. I have a question with regards to the testing of those athletes and how do we go forward to prevent spread once the sport is underway?
So we have had a chance to practice some of those safety protocols during summer conditioning, which is daily temperature taking and the daily questionnaire and logging that information. And at the high school level, that was assisted and helped managed by our certified athletic trainers there. So we have been practicing those protocols, those sanitizing protocols around equipment, physical distancing between players. They can only condition and practice in small groups there. So we have been practicing the guidelines that have been set forth for us to follow. And those will continue into the competition schedule for those sports that would continue.
Okay, specifically with regards to testing though, can you clarify if there's concern about a student? Is that something that the district will be assisting the parents with getting those athletes tested, or is that something parents have to do on?
Currently, if a student answers in the affirmative or yes to one of the questionnaires, they're not allowed to attend practice, and then the recommendation for testing would come from the school to the parent prior to returning.
And along those lines, if I may, since we do have nurses from around, for example, at Union, I believe, and so forth, How does that play in opportunities for testing of our students or staff? I'm not sure if that's outside the bounds of what we're talking about, but is that something that's available?
We have not conclusively identified a role of our school health clinics in the testing process. But we do, there are definitely recommendations if a student was to answer affirmative to any of the questions on the questionnaire that they would seek their healthcare professional to follow up on further testing and share results with returning to play or practice.
Do the kids have their temperature taken?
Yes. So we have outfitted our school buildings with the no-touch or low-touch thermometers, so they can scan and record that data for each individual athlete that is participating.
Mr. Johnson, this is Raynard. So obviously, people are still going to get sick, common colds, whatever the case may be. Every sniff or every cough is necessarily COVID, but I am curious if one of our athletes' temperature is high and maybe there are other apparent symptoms that lead the athletic trainer or whomever to suspect that the child may actually be ill. Even though we're recommending that they get a COVID test, I'm wondering if we will have an expectation that they temporarily suspend involvement until they provide a COVID-free results sort of piece, just for the safety of everyone.
Yes, because like I said, the regular cold and flu season is upon us, and some of those symptoms are almost identical. And so if students exhibit any symptoms of illness, then they are suspended from participating. And then the recommendation regarding testing and seeking a further follow-up through the healthcare professional is made at that point in time.
Well, I guess I'm really actually wondering maybe if we may be considering something a bit stronger than recommendation. And trust me, I'm definitely a sports junkie, and I don't necessarily like the idea of an athlete missing, a competition or something simply because, of the might be. But at the same time, for the larger, the greater whole, it seems like it might be appropriate to require a COVID test and produce COVID-free test results prior to re-involve. I guess I'm just putting that out there for consideration.
Yeah, that is part of the process. So if you're sent home ill, that you would need to return with some documentation, and that the athletic directors keep up with that as well, that you are COVID-free before you can re-engage with other students or other athletes or the competition schedule.
Okay, I just wanted to be clear because I know you were saying what the recommendation was, but obviously recommendations aren't necessarily requirements. So I would just look for some clarity on that, on how strongly we were, what position we were taking, and how strong that position was.
Yeah, there would have to be evidence that you're COVID-free before you can return to play.
I have a question about the parent survey. So is there, if parents respond overwhelmingly saying that they don't feel safe for their students to play, or because it sounds like we're moving in the direction that students will be playing for those low risk or for the non-contact sports. But if parents of students who play those sports still have concerns or are not ready for their students to play, what do we have planned for the response to that?
So let me see if I understand your question. So again, the low risk sports such as tennis, golf, and cross country have been convening because they were not included in the mandate around the high risk sports. And so parents had the option at that point in time to either allow their students to participate or not participate. So if it came back on the survey overwhelmingly that they would not want them to participate, I guess I would want to look deeper into that to make sure we're talking about students who are participating in tennis, tennis, golf, and cross country.
Right, but at this point, those students have been practicing and attending practice, and so understood. So we have any more questions for Dr. Roby or Mr. Johnson? All right, thank you very much.
So we just want to say our big season opener went to the dog pile, so we couldn't do that. We wanted to welcome Dr. Roby with our big season opener into the Grand Rapids Public Schools sports world, but we weren't able to do that. So we're working on something in lieu of that.
I cannot wait.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have action items. And our first action item is the Peace Education Week resolution. If there are not any items for discussion here, do I have a motion to approve the resolution?
Motion to approve the Peace Education Week resolution.
Thank you. Support?
Support.
Ms. Lewis?
Yes. Dr. Baker is excused. Ms. Davis?
Yes.
Dr. Flores?
Yes.
Ms. Lewis, yes. Reverend Matias?
Yes.
Mr. Ross?
Yes.
Ms. Shockey?
Yes.
Mrs. Williams?
Yes.
And President Grant.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next, we have the purchasing agenda. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Support.
Support.
Okay. You want me to?
Yes, please.
Yeah, okay. Dr. Baker's excused. Ms. Davis?
Yes.
Dr. Flores?
Yes.
Ms. Lewis, yes. Reverend Matias?
Yes.
Mr. Ross?
Yes.
Ms. Shockey?
Yes.
Mrs. Williams?
Yes.
President Grant?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next, we have the purchasing agenda addendum. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Support.
Ms. Lewis?
Okay. Dr. Baker is excused. Ms. Davis?
Yes.
Dr. Flores?
Yes.
Ms. Lewis? Yes. Reverend Matias?
Yes.
Mr. Ross?
Yes.
Ms. Shockey?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
President Grant?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. And finally, we have the consent agenda grouping. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Support.
Ms. Lewis?
Yes. Dr. Baker's excused. Ms. Davis?
Yes.
Dr. Flores?
Yes.
Ms. Lewis, yes. Reverend Matias?
Yes.
Mr. Ross?
Yes.
Ms. Shockey?
Yes.
Mrs. Williams?
Yes.
President Grant?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Looks like we have no discussion items for this evening. We do have public comment. So, Craig, I'm not sure if there's an order that you'd like to go in. I do have names here. I could just call them, or you can bring.
That's fine. Whatever order you'd like to go in.
Okay, first I have Nancy Haynes. So for public comment, we do allot 3 minutes. We are unable to respond, but we do take notes and we are all listening. And if there is a question or a request for information that is included in your comment time, we make sure that administration does follow up with you. Nancy, you can go ahead whenever you're ready. Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi. First of all, thank you so much, all of you, for all of your service. I'm a longtime supporter of Grand Rapids Public Schools. I have a son who's a senior, and I'm in high school, and I'm very, very concerned about the lack of rigor in the academic plan for back to school for GRPS this year. I'm very concerned that my son is only getting 12 hours of instructional time as compared to 30 hours normally. I have sons that go to another school, high school in a different district, And they're getting, right now they're virtual and they're getting 30 hours, just like they normally would a week. And when you compare what my son is able to learn in the limited amount of time he has with teachers compared to what they're learning, it's just shocking. So the disparities that exist for our students prior to COVID-19 are only going to grow. And I just don't understand why we have such a limited time with our teachers when other districts can do the full 6 hours. So that's my first concern, and that I would have gone on and on about that. I'm also a little worried that we're saying at best we'll go back hybrid after 9 weeks. It seems like what we would do is say, let's look and see and learn from the other districts that are going back. And hopefully we can go back full time. So we would only lose 9 weeks to this. But instead we've said at best we'll go back hybrid. So I'm very concerned about that. Hopefully you'll rethink that based on what the successes and what we can learn from the other districts in our area. And then the other thing that just popped onto my list today was soccer. My son plays soccer. They've been practicing all summer. And we had, when we got the news on Thursday, we were excited. And all along, I understood it to mean that we would follow MHSAA guidelines on when we would play, which I accept. And so finally on Thursday afternoon, when they said we would get to play, the kids were really excited. We've been following, we've been taking temperatures. The kids wear masks until they pass through the screening. We've been very careful. There was only one coach that was exposed to coronavirus, and he had to get a negative test before he could come back to practice. So we've been very careful. We haven't had any kids with any symptoms all summer. And then today at 2 o'clock, so we had a game tonight with Zealand. And today at 2 o'clock, we found out from the AD at Union that that the brakes were being put on. I just don't understand how the other districts, I had to drive by West Catholic coming home tonight, and their lights are on, they're playing soccer. I know Zealand was ready to play. I know Kenna was playing. I just don't understand why we, if we found out on Thursday, we weren't ready to go. We've had months to prepare for this and develop our protocol if it was a go. So it just feels like we were caught on our heels. I don't understand that.
3 minutes.
So I guess I'll be a part of the listening sessions. I look forward to hearing from you, but also I hope that we can act quickly. We've already lost more than half of our soccer season. So we need to take action fast. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Haynes. Next, we don't see them here, but I'm going to call just in case, Nicole Clark. Okay, Susan Class. All right, and the last person that we had for public comment is Gail Thebo. All right, Gail, you can feel free to get started. We have you for 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Yes, thank you for the public comment sections there where we can express ourselves. I normally do not step into these and give my opinion. I'm on the back burner and try to do everything I can to have all of the kids have equitable chances. And I too stepped up today because of the announcement at 2 p.m. about the sports cancellations, or even the lack of information that came through when all of the students were almost hopping on a bus to go to games. I do not understand that there's no protocol that had been put in place. There is a difference between being virtual for all of the students going into a building and having activities that are not mandatory but are a choice to participate or not with smaller groups. So when we get the okay from the governor and the association that actually gives us the guidelines on how to participate safely, I don't understand why there were just brakes put on with no warning whatsoever. It is not fair to the students. The students have suffered enough of not being able to see their peers, especially in the adolescent time. And I just don't understand that there was nothing in place. We have known for quite a while that this was maybe coming. I just am really surprised that GRPS did not take this into consideration until today. If the announcement was Thursday, I think Friday there should have been something announced to the parents or to the families that this was going to happen. The students deserve better. They have worked hard. They have done it safely. They've been very diligent. We have been taking temperatures. We have been involved. A lot of parents have been involved. We really played our part for this to happen, and it got just cut off to them. So for also the high, moderate, and low risk, I want to be clear that swim is low risk. The pools are open. It should not have anything to do with stopping those sports that are low risk. And moderate risk is the same thing. I don't see, if it's considered moderate risk and it is okay to play, I don't understand why there is something that is stopped in its track. So I hope that this will be resolved by tomorrow. The kids know that they have games on Thursday. They want to play. They deserve an answer by tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Gail. Okay. That is all we have for public comment. I don't believe the other two community members joined the chat since their name was called. So we will move to superintendent's comments.
Just very quickly, thank you again. Reminding all of our community and our board members that each school is hosting a distance learning listening session for students and families, and it's specifically around distance learning, what experiences people are having. We're wanting to hear and better understand what's working, what adjustments are needed, and so that we're able to support students and families as we are in this format. And we're also open and wanting to hear suggestions and ideas. Please look for announcements through your school's website and web pages and other methods of communication. And then finally, we will be also hosting a broader distance learning district listening session next Thursday, September 17th. And that's, again, same thing, to kind of hear general information about what's taking place from our community's perspective, and so that we're able to investments. And information related to that can also be found on the district webpage. That concludes my comments for this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Roby. Next, we will have board comments, and we'll start with Ms. Davis.
I don't have any comments this evening.
Thank you. Reverend Matias?
There we go. Yes, I would hope that as the second largest district in Michigan, that we would be willing to take risks in communicating what we understand are our CDC guidelines, certainly the governor's positions on issues, advocating for our students, and as a board, taking a risk to say we've looked at data as well, and whether we conclude differently or not, to communicate to our parents that we are behind them in regards to wanting school to be in session and those kinds of things, and not flounder around those kinds of issues. I think that I appreciate the way that our administration is looking to give kids our best. And again, given some of the risk factors in our district, we don't want our kids to fall any further behind than what they are. So I would hope that we would continue to have those discussions, but then also put forth what we believe is best for our district through our superintendent, certainly.
Thank you. Mr. Ross?
No comment.
Mrs. Williams?
Right. I would like to thank Dr. Roby and her staff for being forward thinking to come through with those listening sessions. As we learned tonight, our parents have some concerns and some issues, and I am excited to know that the staff and the superintendent is ready to hear those concerns and move forward. So thank you very much. And parents, please utilize the opportunity to come out and share your concerns. This is a perfect opportunity to do so and to advocate for our children. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Flores?
Well, I'd like to just underscore the need to celebrate peace and also the Hispanic Heritage Month really provides us an opportunity to look at racial profiling, an anti-immigrant mood in this country, and to challenge our thinking about who really belongs in the United States of America and what our true history is. You know, Hispanic Americans represent every cultural aspect of this country, involved in politics and the defense of this nation for every war that we've ever fought, even the Revolutionary War for Independence. That our indigenous Indian heritage is a part of our Hispanic American heritage. We were a people who were here as the United States was formed, and again, you know, if you look at Texas, California, Arizona, Colorado, you know, Las Vegas, all of these, I mean, Nevada, excuse me, all of these states and Florida have a significant Hispanic heritage. And, you know, we didn't come here yesterday. And I think that our kids need to know that, and it needs to be embedded in our curriculum. I think that would help to promote understanding, racial understanding, ethnic understanding, and certainly reduce some of the discrimination and prejudice in America. So I hope we take the leap forward and celebrate this with that in mind.
Thank you. Mrs. Shockey?
Well, good evening, everyone. I thought I'd just share that today was a hard day in my house. We lost power in the morning unexpectedly, and I was running around getting my hotspot on my phone working so my kids could stay in school. And my son wanted to ride a scooter instead of doing his work. And I say all of this because at the end of the day, I got an email from a teacher that said, "This was the best day yet," from my son's teacher. And I've just been reflecting on how my best and our best and my kids' best feels so different from their best a year ago. And I just want to express my gratitude to our teachers, to our kids, to our administration, to our parents, who are all doing their best, even though our best feels different. And I also just want to say thank you to those that gave public comment and those that will be coming out to the listening session, because this is how we make our best even better. So thank you for making us informed about where we need to keep pushing so that we can make our best even better. Thanks.
Thank you. Ms. Lewis?
Yes, I would just like to give a hats off to parents like Jen and all the rest of you who have little kids and you're trying to keep them on the computer and do the best that you can. And I know that there are families who have more than one, more than two, sometimes more than three kids. And I commend them because I just have Kayla and, you know, she just sits there and does what she's supposed to do. That's why I don't take Kira because she might not be so compliant. But I also want to thank these teachers because I know that teaching online, having been a teacher, I can only imagine how difficult it is for them to come up with these lesson plans and do all of the stuff that they've really never done before. And I'm just so proud of them because it's really, really hard work. So I thank the teachers and I thank the parents.
Thank you very much. Well, I do not have any comments for this evening, so looks like our meeting is adjourned. Thank you all. Thank you everyone for joining us.